I think we tired ourselves out in a way. We started pitching into it all to the point of now when we do get something. I mean, they are slowing down on films coming out. They're slowing down TV series, but we pushed for all this and then we got it and we're full. You know, we asked for more and yet we were full.
Hello and welcome to the Sound Scope podcast, the show where independent filmmaking meets fandom, pop culture, and everything in between. I'm Luke Walters, and as always, I'm joined by a fair few, actually, creatives. Well, this is probably the most uncreative group of... I'm joking, I love you really. But actors, writers, filmmakers, documentarians, Jonathans, and we are going to dive into the big bad world of superheroes for this time. So I changed the intro up there. Did you notice? I changed it up a bit there, mainly because I messed it up, but I'm going to keep it in because I quite liked it. So I'd like to introduce you to Captain Puerto Rico himself, Mr. America, Jamie Carroll, John Stewart.
Actually use my proper name for once.
And actor, theatre director, Brandon McCaffrey.
Woo!
I was expecting.
We're getting really good at that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Cool.
We're getting so
Great.
good.
I think we're talking about superhero fatigue. I got John,
Very fatigued.
I got John Stewart fatigue.
It's understandable.
I got
Most
John
do.
Stewart.
Just Google if you want to find out what I do.
Imprint Films.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
hey, nice shout
There
out.
you go,
I'll
there
take
you go,
it.
there
I'll
you go.
take it.
Imprint
So,
Films.
superheroes.
What's it all about?
What's it all about?
So yeah, so recently, Superman has come out to much fanfare. Fantastic Four has also come out. Yeah. So are we tired of superhero films in this day and age? Right now, the big question is superhero fatigue a thing? So I'm going to throw this out.
I'm not tired, but I think a lot of the world is.
I'm not tired of the superhero genre. I'm just tired of
That's genre for our British viewers.
I'm just very tired of poor production values or poor writing. I think it's just been churned out,
Which is crazy because the stories are already there. They
Yeah.
literally have them in books and pages. You just have to open it up and put it on screen. It's really
Right.
not that hard.
But actually,
Are you tired, John?
in life,
So you think
yes.
you look tired?
And of superheroes, yes. No, I think superhero fatigue has to be a thing because all you have to do is, I'm addicted to once films come out, like for the next couple of weeks, I'll be on the Wikipedia every few days checking, right, how much did it cost to make? What are the take-ins? Is it building? How much is the drop-off in the second weekend? And I just think the world's like feedback in terms of ticket receipts to these things, it's just catastrophically lower than the heyday, if you want to call it. So I think you can fashion it up or nickname it however you want, but I think the essence of fatigue, it seems to be a thing, yeah.
But then when you have films come out like Deadpool and Wolverine,
Mhm.
that cracks $1 billion, and then you get a Thunderbolts, which makes 300 million, but Thunderbolts is again well received by the critics. So is it superhero fatigue? Did people just want to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh
Deadpool
Jackman?
and Wolverine also lived off
that's
nostalgia.
Yeah, that's true. Because No Way Home as well. You know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming in. Should they have ended it? Should Marvel have ended it at Endgame? Like this. Let's be honest. Should Marvel have ended it at Endgame?
yes and no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
agreed.
think they should have paused a little bit, like how Amazon has approached James Bond. They've taken their time. They've created a bit of space between the current regime and the new one.
Well, I think that's just because they don't know what they want to do. To be honest,
I think
maybe that's
until
what
we
you should do.
see
You should
what
sit and wait.
Amazon churn out, I am completely sitting on the fence about.
Well, Barbara Broccoli left because they kept calling James Bond content. So,
Right.
you know, or Russell T Davisism.
Maybe that's where the issue lies, when there's a good story replaced for memeable content. And that started with the Disney Plus Marvel series, I'd say.
Oh, I don't know. WandaVision is a pretty strong series. Up until its last sort of episode where it goes very typical Marvel, I think WandaVision tried to do something different. The same with Agatha all along.
I
Fun enough to
really
do magic
liked
ones.
Agatha, to be fair.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Agatha.
But they're trying to do something different from what Marvel usually does. They're not doing the typical superhero stuff. It's like, let's veer into different ways that we can do this while still staying within the world. Well, then you get ones that you go, it's a load of heroes, it's a villain, they fly, they beat each other up.
But irrespective of whether they're doing something different, and I know, but is there just a case of there's just too much of it?
Yes.
Whatever
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is, there's just too much of it. I mean, it's like I hate the situation where you've literally, you're going in to see a film and you feel like you've got to do 50 hours of homework before.
Yes.
And I think, I mean, I've not got kids of my own, but you kind of think of a family of 4 who, like, the kids might have traditionally been really excited about seeing those 3 cinema trips a year to go and keep up with the MCU. And then all of a sudden, like, that you can't just take them to the cinema innocently because you've got, and I know that's what the model is all built on, is that making people dependent on all those different mediums. But I just think they've become a victim of their own success a little bit now. And it's just, life is busy. There's a lot of stuff on. There's a lot of streaming services. There's a lot of things at the cinema. There's just too much homework to get a little key into that world.
Okay, so here's a different version of your question then.
Okay.
Is it not so much are we suffering from hero fatigue per se, but are we suffering from Marvel fatigue?
Well, not.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know, because DC has been. Well, what did the last Aquaman do? The first Aquaman made $1 billion, I think.
Did
I think so. Yeah. The Flash was the Flash.
The Flash exists.
Aquaman made $1 billion and the Flash was the Flash.
Yeah, it just existed. I don't know. I think DC was in a very funny place before The Rock come and bulldoze his way in, ironically, and kind of taking it over. And then obviously they had to come back and get James Gunn in as well. And that whole situation with Snyder and the Snyder cut, I think they tried to catch up to Marvel too quick, and they didn't do it. And I think a lot of fans are going to be resentful to them for that. So I think people are going to be more trepidatious to go see a DC film. But Marvel has constantly delivered up until when did Endgame come out? 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And I think they delivered up until then. And then as soon as, Downey leaves, Chris Evans leaves, they all leave. And then you're left with like, cool, what's next?
Yeah.
We've had one Spider-Man film, one Doctor Strange film, one Black Panther film, and that was a replacement because obviously he died. Whose
journey
whose
is
story
it?
is
Whose
it?
story
Who's-
is it?
Like,
Yeah.
when
The multiverse-
Shang-Chi's not been seen since
Shang-Chi was
2021,
one
yeah.
film. The Eternals don't exist anymore. I was
Yeah.
like,
Well,
realistically,
excuse me, you had that sticking out of the ground for.
yeah.
It took them a few
long
films
time.
to refer back to
Yeah,
it
it
again.
took them a while. Even TV series weren't even talking about it. I'm going like, guys.
Then for every movie, he had 3 Disney Plus series as well, and they all
Yeah.
crossed over and referenced each other. So if you missed one thing, you're then reluctant to go and watch the movie,
Yeah.
which is what happened with the Marvels. The movie,
Which is a
bombed.
great film. I really enjoyed the Marvels. Actually, it's fun. It's like it's just it's friendly. It's fun. It just has a laugh with itself. Albeit Miss Marvel makes it.
Yes.
Like your girl who plays Kamala Khan is incredible, and she owned that role
But
in the
because
series
so
alone.
many people never seen Miss Marvel the series, they never went out to see the film.
Yeah,
So
and if you didn't watch WandaVision, you didn't know who Proton was.
absolutely.
Photon, sorry.
So if we look now at what came out recently, so Superman is the relaunch of the DCU, and Fantastic Four is supposed to lead directly somehow into Doomsday. I know spoilers, pops up in the end, kind of. And doesn't really do anything. Is Superman the right way to reboot the DC? Because I watched both recently. I don't think I've had such a good time watching a film as Superman. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had a smile on my face from start to finish. And I thought, this is amazing. This is what Zack Snyder's films were probably better made, if I'm being honest.
Fair.
But I think the story of this one and the humanity behind it, I thought was really, really good. And I see the Zack Snyder's Superman as like, what does it mean like to be a god in society? And this new one, James Gunn, is what does it mean to be human? And it's completely flipped it on its head. And I just had so much fun watching. I was like, this is like the old cartoons I used to watch.
Yeah, I think that's what James Gunn got right, though.
Yeah,
he wanted to
absolutely.
make Superman who Superman is. And to be honest, this is the first iteration of Superman we've had who is Superman, who I sat there and went, I believe you're exactly like the comic book Superman since Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
And since Christopher Reeves' first film, not even his sequels, just that first film, who just gets it.
And I mean, I've always thought that, like, who I thought was the most important person to Marvel's success with the MCU, and I'll have to explain it because it'll throw you, but the most important person to Marvel's success in the MCU was Christopher Nolan. You're wondering now, aren't you?
Okay. Go with us.
Because, right, you look at the absolute tentpoles, like Iron Man became in the MCU, you'd argue that with DC's universe, Superman and Batman are those absolute tentpoles that you're going to hang an MCU type thing around.
Yeah.
The problem was, with the Nolan trilogy being so good and so enclosed and so of its own thing, starting in 2005 and finishing in 2012, so they were already on that train before the MC, I mean, it was happening. They were building towards it then. Iron Man was probably already in pre-production or production. So they already had all the plans to do it. But DC were locked in a set trajectory that they had to see through until the end. There was a little bit of a delay because of Heath Ledger's unfortunate passing. So that was an extra year they had out before Dark Knight Rises, before Nolan could look at it. So that pushed their plans a little bit further back. In that period there where Dark Knight trilogy was just, I mean, for me, I've watched The Dark Knight 8,000 times. Like that was so central to my life. And yet, like all of a sudden, once that was so self-enclosed and done and in and out and sorted, in 2012, you've already had, I don't know how many MCU films. Robert Downey has already taken over the world.
Like 2008, Iron Man.
You've had him in 08.
Iron Man, 2012 was the Avengers.
Yeah.
So you talk about, I mean, DC have, unfortunately, they've
been playing catch up.
They've had to play catch up, and I just think they've never quite recovered from.
I think that's
that period of
a
time.
difficult thing though, because DC were, well, yes, I'll agree in the style of film. When you take the Nolan trilogy was set. It was Batman for the real world. Yes. It wasn't comic booky. It wasn't focusing on making comic booky.
It was grounded.
It was grounded. It was gritty. Yeah. And while I really enjoy that personally, Christian Bale's not my Batman whatsoever. I'm not a fan of him. I think he's a very good Bruce Wayne, not a very good Batman, but I don't like the voice. Anyway.
Rachel,
when you think of
where is she?
It's awful.
This is
shocking.
the Batman segment where we all do the voices of.
It's shocking, but you think so? DC, while yes, they at the time were not in the film thing, we've also got to think about the other things that were out there. So like DC were taking over TV.
Yeah.
DC had the Arrowverse, which had like Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legend of Tomorrow, Batwoman, Superman and Lois, Black Lightning. There's another one in there somewhere. Constantine. You know, how many series did I just mention there? They were all at the same time, crossing over with each other, creating new things. Lucifer.
Yes.
Like, they were constantly doing all this stuff. So while I think Marvel absolutely took over in the film segment, DC were fine. Because they were creating their storylines on TV and being able to expand on it. Having, back in the day of 23 episodes of American TV, they had that period. They had that time to build, and they could cross over and make their own thing. You know, the only thing that broke DC TV was not that far. Was COVID. So they got their Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they got a big crossover, 5 episodes where they had every single show crossover with itself. It was incredible. But then COVID hit, and it was all meant to be set on one Earth, and we had things where you couldn't. You'd COVID, you'd fatigue probably as well. Yeah. You had the CW selling off most of their stuff. It didn't work because they couldn't bring everyone into one Earth and one show, or keep crossing over loads of stuff to make more storylines. So it's kind of just dropped off the edge. And I think that's what DC now. James Gunn has watched all this stuff, and he said he loves like Grant Gustin's Flash and whatnot. He's watched all that, and he's like, I want to bring it back to that period where we did own a segment of stuff, but we were building these storylines, and we had all these characters we were using rather than center ones. Like with Superman, you've Guy Gardner in his Green Lantern, who is not who you would pick as a Green Lantern normally straight away, but he's great. Nathan Fillion's fantastic at it. You get some B-list ones. Mr. Terrific. Who thought Mr. Terrific would ever be on the film?
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't like Nathan Fillion for some reason. I just don't think he has a likable face. Fair enough. And as soon as I saw him in it reminds me of someone. Told you, John Stewart fatigue is a thing. I'm joking, John. I love you, John.
Was his pick on the frog day?
I love you, John. But no, like as soon as I saw Nathan Fillion in it, I was like, I don't like him, you know, like he just grinds my gears. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, he's actually great, you know. I was like, I'll eat my words.
He's meant to be annoying. He's meant to be an awful person. And you go,
Mr. Terrific was great. I like Crypto was fantastic. Supergirl at the end was great, and I really enjoyed it. How about you, John?
It feels like you're leading that towards me for a reason, Luke.
I might be.
I just, Again, films and everything and art and movies and theatre, and it's all subjective, right? Some people are going to like it and some not. It just wasn't for me.
Some people are wrong.
So don't send him any hate is what he's basically saying.
I've
Go on.
sorry.
Go on.
Oh, you're enjoying this way too much. Right, I've got two older brothers, right, and they introduced me. They brought me up on like your classic Indiana Jones and your old Superman, your Christopher Reeve, and this, that, and the other. And I mean, I grew up on the Lois and Clark.
Oh yeah, the
Dean
Kane.
Dean Kane and Terry Hatcher on BBC Two at like 6
o'clock.
o'clock. I used to eat my tea and watch Superman and stuff. And there was just, when I went to see the film, I went with an open mind. I've traditionally been an MCU guy, but MCU's been letting me down a little bit over the last few years. So I'm like, right, let's give this new DC, let's give James Gunn, let's go and see it and let's give it a try. But the very essence of who Superman is and who Clark Kent is and who the character is, it just for me, and I know they're completely well within their rights. There might be a comic book somewhere that paints him this way that I don't know about, and it might be really true and authentic, and you'll be probably the man to ask about that. But I kind of, for me, it just wasn't the Clark Kent and the Superman that I've come to know and love over the years. It felt like Clark Kent was quite sure of himself. He wasn't as doddery and geeky and nerdy. Like, he already had the girl. So the relationship was very secured. You weren't rooting for the nerd to go and get the nice reporter lady because it was already done. And also, I found his Superman and that character, he was a little bit cocksure, a little bit arrogant sometimes about what he had done, and I've done all this, and I've fought for this, and I've saved people's lives in this. And I just thought, I was like, hang on, I don't know. It's a different, and it might be great, but I think my expectations were so different that I didn't love it.
Oh, no, that's fair. And to be fair, after speaking to you as well, because I know some of you enjoyed the Fantastic Four quite a bit. And I wanted to like it. I really, really wanted to like it. But I was like, cool, I don't care. And I literally watched it and I was like, I don't care about this. And I've never been like a massive Fantastic Four fan anyway, but you know, I'm a Pedro Pascal fan. And they were like, this leads into Doomsday.
You're going to have a good year this year.
He's in everything. Isn't
Everything.
But I was
Last
like,
3 years, my God, man's not stopped.
I was like, why are they not pinning like the MCU on him then at this point? Because if Fantastic Four is supposed to lead into Doomsday and then lead into Civil War, I know they pivoted because of the Jonathan Majors thing, but surely you need a big A-lister after Robert Downey Jr. to pin a franchise on. Who are you going to pin it on? And Pedro Pascal looked like the next in line for some time, but now we should have had 2 or 3 films from Endgame to Doomsday, not one that's out a year before and then it's straight in. But I was watching, I was like, Mark Gatiss is in it because he works his way into everything somehow. I was like, fantastic.
At this point, they're just trying to paper over the cracks.
Yeah.
Well, I
there was
think
no
that's the thing of it.
stakes with it. And like she spoilers, she died at the end, and I was like, cool, she's in Doomsday.
Right,
we
she
know
gets brought back.
Yeah, we know this because she's in Doomsday, and I was just like, and it's not.
But again, I did say
like
this. I did say the same thing to you earlier about like we loved Infinity War and Endgame, and that was one of the greatest moments of our nerding lives, right? But like Infinity War, I did sit in the cinema, and even as it was happening for the first time at the very end of Infinity War, and they're all turning to dust, I did not feel the drama of that moment at all because I knew that we already had a new Spider-Man film. When you see him disappearing, oh, Mr. Stark, I'm scared.
We know what's coming.
Like we know what's
just
coming.
like soaps.
And
Soaps
it's
is the same thing.
Like you absolutely, and it was the same thing a little bit with Fantastic Four, and like we've already had all the chairs. Like we know what's coming, and it just does feel a little bit like I don't know. Is it a case of they're just maybe broadcasting things a little bit too soon, and it's removing the ability, but they can't keep these things secret. Like these are huge big productions, they can't completely keep everything a secret.
I think it's also Marvel has the issue where they're scared to go over that edge. Marvel are terrified to kill someone off properly. You know, they have that real fear. You know, you take, whilst obviously not everyone's a massive fan of like Zack Snyder stuff, you had Doomsday appear in Batman vs Superman, the second film of this entire sort of thing going on, and they killed off Superman exactly how he would have been killed off in the comics. As soon as Doomsday appeared, I went, you better kill him off. And they did. Albeit, yes, he is brought back in Justice League, but I went, you still killed him off. You still went for it. While I think Marvel's terrified to go over the edge.
Well, I mean, I can't remember where I heard this or read it or I watched it, or it might be a YouTube channel or it's social media or something, but there was someone somewhere out there in the internet who mentioned the fact that the real death of the MCU would be the day that they announced RDJ coming back.
Yeah.
And I remember, because obviously American time zones and this and that, I woke up and I was in bed one morning, and it was the morning after. Sure, you guys all did as well.
Yeah.
And it was the moment when he whipped his mask off. And I almost just, that moment when Michael Scott screams and he sees Toby's come back to the office. He goes, no. And I was literally lying in bed just going, like, no. It was like the death, like that death and the moment and the I am Iron Man and the moment that Pepper was there and Spider-Man and it was just perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the multiverse allows you certain narrative
but
abilities.
If they'd saved that moment for Doomsday, if he revealed that in Doomsday and we didn't know Robert Downey Jr. was Doctor Doom, what a moment it would be.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I think, but all of a sudden we just know it's like, oh, right, the numbers are dropping.
Yeah.
Your takings are low. It feels like it's a bit rudderless. So we'll parachute RDJ I love him, and I love the MCU, and I loved everything that he represents about the MCU, and I love Iron Man and Tony Stark, and all of a sudden I'm like,
it feels cash
it
grabby.
feels like a bit of a...
Would you say this is a wider issue with IP then, in that they're all relatively self-referential and that they're eating into their own nostalgia and to the point where they're just running out of steam? Like, Doctor Who's done it, DC,
Star Wars,
Marvel. Like, what is superhero fatigue, or why is it? And
I think it's a little bit of Disney's sort of thing of, they look at the numbers that they were getting for Infinity War Endgame, and realistically, that's all Disney want to be back at. They want to be back at those numbers, even though they're still earning a good bit of coin out of each of these films. But to them, it's not enough. It's not quite enough. So this is their last-ditch effort to go make it enough. Because realistically, because he is back, Doomsday's going to go through them roof.
Then you look at like Lilo and Stitch this year's cracked $1 billion.
Yeah.
Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I nearly said Minesweeper then. I was like, that's it.
That would be
I'd
amazing.
watch that.
Make it happen.
Or I think this, I think it's original IP to a degree. I was like, I know Lilo and Stitch is back in our day, but Minecraft is a game, but it's like, yeah, surely this is an IP thing now. It's like Sinners come out and Sinners was a big box office hit. And it's like, are we just tired of nostalgic IPs regurgitating the same stories?
Bums on seats.
This is the thing, you talk about superhero fatigue, and I don't mean to be Mr. Storm Cloud of Doom over here, but it just feels like it's a bit of an everything fatigue.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden we're the generation where there is so much content and TV and film and everything everywhere. The number of streaming services competing for our attention. So the problem is, it is essentially a bit of a race to the bottom, because they have to get viewers in. There is so much competition to get you to pay the subscription across 5-6 different services, that how are you going to get viewers to take 1 second look at one of your shows that you've sunk 100 million into?
Yeah.
I know, let's make it an IP that they are familiar with.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're ending up with the situation. It's quite sad to see. I mean, but the number of times, like you talk about your Sinners, we talked about Parasite a couple of years ago, where we talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. We talk about these, all of a sudden, films come out of nowhere where it feels original. The Substance, my God,
great
Substance.
Like, I know
shout out
someone who's
Jonathan
been
Carley
in it.
and his Oscar-winning hair.
Of course,
But it's a great film.
But
It's fantastic.
So all of a sudden, we keep having these little moments where it's almost like the world just for a moment just screams out together, like, something new, something we haven't seen. That was it. And people are thinking, right, it's a return. Here we go. But it feels like there's little chinks in the armor. There's little moments where it's like, you know what? We are heading to a stage where the audience wants this, but they're just not doing it in enough droves yet.
So one question I have before we move on is, at what point, looking back, do you think superhero fatigue started to creep in? Was it a particular pop culture moment, a societal moment, or a movie? Whatever it was, where do you each think superhero fatigue crept in?
It's possibly COVID, when we all had to sit down and that's all we really had to watch. When you think about it, we just had Disney Plus come out during COVID, which was a great thing for it. It got so many people signing up to it. But we sat and rewatched the MCU. How many people sat and did that? I know I was one of them.
Yep.
We sat and watched it from start to finish, because you were like, oh, got all the TV series now, I can do all that with it. And I think we tired ourselves out in a way. We started pitching into it all to the point of now, when we do get something, I mean, they are slowing down on films coming out. They're slowing down TV series, but we pushed for all this and then we got it and we're full. We asked for more and yet we were full.
I think it obviously people looked at Endgame and that it felt like that was the plan from 2008 onwards. And then we had 10 years building up to this, all the films, 20 odd, whatever it was. And it was building up to that moment. And obviously we had not No Way Home, Far From Home was right after, which was, I still really loved Far From Home. But it did feel a little bit like since Endgame, they just it was like, right, we're going to do something with the multiverse. That's where we think we're going. But obviously you mentioned Jonathan Majors before. I think they denoted him as the next big bad, and that was how it was all leading to. And they had him appearing in the back of Loki series 1. He was in the credits, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was in series 2.
I forgot about Loki.
And so
Loki series 2.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, when that went a bit awry, then I know there will be a bit of course correction and a bit of a panic there, that they had been maybe building a bit of a tent pole to build the rest of the MCU around, which they had to change. So I realized that would have probably affected the long-term planning. But I think the big moment for me was when Black Widow came out.
The film that should have come out years before.
It was those moments when you literally sit and you go, in MCU we trust, right? It's literally, they've done so many good films. We have enjoyed absolutely every single moment of this, every single journey. We know we're going to have a class night out. We're going to be talking about this for years to come, and it's going to be great. All of a sudden, when Black Widow came out, when it did, when we've already invested in Black Widow's death, and we're doing this prequel all of a sudden out the blue, completely disjointed for no reason. It all of a sudden felt like, hang on, I don't think I've got faith in this. This seems so random and so misplaced. And then, the takings weren't great for it. I thought Black Widow's got a lot of good bits in it. I enjoyed it. But you just think that was the moment where I don't think they know where they're going now. And that was a bit of a worrying... I think it echoed out into the audience.
I think for me, it was probably No Way Home, to be honest.
Okay.
And I love that film. And on rewatch, when you watch it, they say when you watch it in the house and Andrew Garfield jumps through the portal and he's there, like, for what seems like an age, because that is made for the audience to clap.
Yeah.
And it's like, this film's actually quite bad, actually, realistically. And you're like, cool, we got all the nostalgia of it. But I was like, I wanted to focus more on Tom. And I was just like, it's just cool. I just didn't care. And I was like, this should have ended with Endgame. I was like, it should have ended with Endgame. They should have had a hard reboot, went with Fantastic Four and X-Men, and then you can build up and you can say, oh, this was a multiverse the entire time. And then you build to do Secret Wars.
You go back to it.
Yeah, and then you do it, and then you go from there. But I think for me, it was No Way Home when it was like, and Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, that was just a mess.
Well, that was a mess from start to finish from production.
That should have been before Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Spider-Man in itself is kind of annoying. I don't know if everyone else feels the same way, but realistically, Tom Holland's Spider-Man doesn't have an actual villain. Vulture is made by Tony Stark because he hates him.
Yeah.
Mysterio is made by Tony Stark. And all the villains in his third film are other Spider-Man's villains, not his. He still does not have a villain of his own, which is crazy to think after 3 films.
I thought of that. Yeah.
Okay, so just before we wrap this podcast up now, because we're coming up to the time, so I'm going to ask you for a hot take or a future prediction about the superhero genre or superhero films in general. Like, give me, what's your future prediction? Where do you see superhero films in 5-10 years?
5-10 years?
Yeah.
Supposing we're all still alive then.
Yeah. Everything's rosy, nothing's happened, we're all still alive and kicking.
Ooh, I think another 5 to 10 years, we'll probably have various different reboots at that point. I think pop culture would have shifted and leaned towards something else. I think going back, I know you want a very brief answer, going back to the answer, are we suffering from superhero fatigue? I'm going to say yes and no. No, in the fact that it's not necessarily superhero fatigue, it's cinematic universe fatigue. When everyone else started doing it, and then you had to do your research. I think DC, you hit the nail on the head with the Christopher Nolan Batman. It was a standalone 3-movie epic. Then as soon as they brought out Man of Steel, and then was it going to be a Man of Steel 2? Was it then going to be Man of Steel then going to be part of the Christopher Nolan universe? They didn't know what to do because they were catching up with Marvel. So Marvel sort of like sped ahead, and then everyone else was playing catch up and messed it up for themselves.
And then Marvel crashed.
And then Marvel became this sort of like Infinity Snake where it's eating its own tail now, and they don't know what they're going to do. So I think superhero genre will probably go back to basics in 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Brando?
X-Men. It's all I want.
X-Men.
It's
Nice
one-
and easy.
the
You'll see him next week in
X-Men.
his X-Men jacket.
Mm.
Chewie?
Just getting all the names.
Wait.
I don't know. I kind of, again, we're not in the age of this being even a near reality, but I want the frequency to drop. Like I feel like if you don't want this fatigue to be really embedded and to last long and potentially kill off the genre, you're gonna have to just diminish or dwindle the amount you're putting out, because you're seeing now, as a result of the pummeling we've had with different shows and films and everything in universes, I think they're now getting hit in the pocket. And they're going to have to adjust it a little bit and go, you know what? The audience is screaming back at us in silence here. It is too much. Let's just think about this a little bit differently. We're going to have to not chase every single penny every 3 months like we have been doing. And because if we want a sustainable future in the genre. So I would like to say that we're going to get to a stage where it's even a maximum kind of 2-3 film release a year was great. You had your February, your May, and your September or whatever you had back in the day, and it felt manageable and a tentpole of your year. I would love to see a bit of a reverse back to that, but who knows, really.
Personally, I think it'll go the way of the cowboy film, cowboy movie. Go the way of the Western, where a couple of years it'll slowly die out. People are just tired of it. I think like every now and again we'll have one come out. And it'll be like, oh, wow, let's see. Oh, my God, that was amazing. And then it'll kind of just die off again and never click. I think superhero films are just going to go the way of the Western. And I think they're just going to slowly die a death. I think it's just too much. And I think there's only so many stories you could tell. I think Marvel is just so formulaic now. They can make a film in their sleep without even trying. And you already know the plot points, the plot beats. You know what's going to happen.
The friendly person becoming evil.
Yeah, you know the film before you see it. It's like, cool. And everything looks the same now as well. I think, I think it needs a hard reset. And I don't know what's going to come after it. I'm quite excited to see what comes after it. But yeah, I think it's gonna fade away. About what do you think? Are the superhero films, are they overdone? Are you tired of superhero films, or are you just tired of waiting for the Matt Reeves Batman movie? Who knows?
Yeah.
So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next week on the Sound on Scope podcast.